Hello students, welcome back to my next session on ionic equilibrium. In today's session, we shall be understanding about buffers. Now, what are buffers? Buffers are solutions that resist drastic changes in pH upon addition of small amounts of acid or base or water to it. Okay, now what do you mean by this? In the last session, we understood what is pH. pH determines the acidity, basicity or neutrality of a solution. So buffers are a special type of solution where the pH will not get affected even when I'm mixing into it a small amount of acid or a base, or even when I'm diluting the solution. Okay. So acid generally, if I'm adding, that means I'm adding more of H plus ions. So obviously the pH should get affected. Or if I'm adding a base, the OH minus ions are being added. That means the pH should change. But it doesn't happen in case of buffers. So why doesn't it happen? And what are the different types of buffers? That is what we will be studying today in our session. Now there are basically two types of buffers. You can have acidic buffers or you can have basic buffers. So let us understand what are acidic buffers first. Now acidic buffers are prepared by mixing together a weak acid and its salt, which is made by reacting the weak acid with a strong base. Okay, so if I were to take a weak acid like acetic acid, and I have to prepare a salt of this acetic acid with a strong base. So let us say I'm making that acetic acid to react with sodium hydroxide. Now sodium hydroxide is a strong base. So the salt formed will be sodium acetate. So now the salt of the weak acid with a strong base, that is sodium acetate, when I'm putting into acetic acid, the solution that I get will be called as an acidic buffer. Okay. And what is the pH of such a solution? The pH of such a solution can be calculated by using this formula. pH is equal to pKa plus log to the base 10 molar concentration of the salt divided by the molar concentration of the acid. So what is pKa here? Now, like you've learned the definition of pH. What is pH? pH is negative logarithm of H plus ion concentration to the base 10. Similarly, your pKa is negative logarithm of Ka to the base 10. So what is Ka? Ka is the value of dissociation constant for the weak acid. Okay, so you have to first calculate the value of Ka or the dissociation constant of the weak acid. Find the negative logarithmic value of that Ka to the base 10. That will be your pKa. Now to this you have to add the log of the ratio of the concentration of salt to acid. So then you get the value of pH of that particular solution. So this pH will be the pH of the acidic buffer that you have prepared. So how is this acidic buffer prepared? By mixing together a weak acid and a salt of the same weak acid with a strong base. So here we have taken acetic acid and sodium acetate. Now this equation that we make use of to calculate the pH is called as Henderson-Hasselbalch equation. Okay. Now the word buffer tells you that even on addition of acid or base, the pH value of this solution is going to remain the same, or even on dilution. Now what happens if I dilute this particular solution? Dilution means I'm adding more amount of water. So when I add more amount of water or on dilution, this ratio of salt to acid is still going to remain the same. It will be remaining unaffected on dilution. So when adding water, the ratio of the salt to acid still remains the same, and therefore this Ka is a constant, it is a dissociation constant, and therefore the pH value will also remain the same. So this Henderson-Hasselbalch equation explains why even on dilution the pH of the buffer remains the same. The reason, on dilution the ratio of the concentration of salt to acid remains the same, and hence the value of pH remains unaffected or unchanged. Okay. Now let us understand what happens on addition of small amount of acid or base into the buffer solution. So let us understand the mechanism of these acidic buffers. Now we have taken the salt sodium acetate. Now it is a salt, that means the salts are usually strong electrolytes. So it will dissociate completely, or it will ionize completely to form acetate ions and sodium ions. Okay. On the other hand, we have also taken, along with the salt, we have taken a weak acid like acetic acid. Now acetic acid being a weak acid, it will remain undissociated. Okay, it will not undergo dissociation. So it will remain as acetic acid only. Now what will happen if I add a small amount of acid to this solution? When I'm adding a small amount of acid, that means I'm adding some extra H plus ions. Now these H plus ions will be consumed or will react with the acetate ions that are present in the solution, and it will get converted into acetic acid. Okay, so the H plus ions are getting combined with the acetate ions and they are forming acetic acid. Now this acetic acid, being a weak acid, it will not again dissociate. It will not remain as it is. Okay, that means whatever H plus ions have added have now got combined and formed acetic acid. So there are no free H plus ions. And if there are no free H plus ions, means my concentration of hydronium ions or H plus ions is going to remain the same. So if the concentration of H plus ions is not disturbed, then my pH also will not change. pH remains the same. So this explains why even on adding small amount of acid, the pH still remains the same. The reason, when I'm adding a small amount of acid, whatever H plus ions I'm adding is getting combined with the acetate ions and it is forming acetic acid, which does not undergo dissociation. So there are no extra H plus ions in the solution. Whatever I'm adding is getting used up. Okay. Now what happens if I add some base? So when I'm adding some base, that means there are some OH minus ions in the solution. Okay. So extra OH minus ions have come in because I've added some extra base, some strong base I've added. But what happens to these OH minus ions? These OH minus ions will be reacting with the acetic acid and they will get converted into acetate ions and water. That means whatever hydroxyl ions I've added, when I'm adding the base, I'm adding some extra hydroxyl ions. These hydroxyl ions will be consumed or it will be neutralized and it will get converted into water. That means again the solution does not have extra amount of hydroxyl ions. Whatever was there before, that will remain as it is. But now there are no more hydroxyl ions that I've added because whatever I'm adding is getting converted into water. So will the basicity be changed? No. So there is no change in the amount of OH minus ions and hence the pH will remain the same. So understood? Addition of acid, addition of base, no change in pH because when I'm adding the acid, the H plus ions are consumed by the acetate ions. They form acetic acid, which is a weak acid and remains undissociated. So addition of acid does not cause change in pH. When I'm adding a base, the OH minus ions are getting consumed by the acetic acid and they get converted into acetate ions and water. That means the hydroxyl ions are neutralized to water and therefore again there is no change in pH. And when I'm diluting the solution, the ratio of salt to acid in that Henderson-Hasselbalch equation remains the same and therefore there is no change in pH. Okay, so now let us move on and understand what are basic buffers. So basic buffers, same like acidic buffers. In acidic buffer, we took a weak acid. Here we take a weak base. And along with the weak base, we will take its salt with a strong acid. So for example, I've taken here a weak base, ammonium hydroxide. And if I make this to react with a strong acid, then I will get this salt, ammonium chloride. The strong acid I've used is HCl. So I've got ammonium chloride. So this solution of ammonium hydroxide and ammonium chloride is an example of basic buffer. Again, I can calculate its pOH by using this particular formula, that is pKb plus log to the base 10 molar concentration of the salt to the molar concentration of the base, where again this pKb is nothing but minus logarithm or negative logarithm of Kb to the base 10, where this Kb is the dissociation constant of the weak base. All right, and this equation again is called as Henderson-Hasselbalch equation. All right. Now, the mechanism of basic buffers is not given to you in your textbook, but it is a similar process like what happens for acidic buffers. So as an assignment, I want you all to work out and write out the reactions and show me what happens on addition of small amount of acid or small amount of base. Okay, apply the same logic as you understood for acidic buffers and write it out and let us discuss it in my upcoming session. Okay. All right. Now we will summarize the properties of buffers. So what are the properties of buffers? A buffer solution is not affected by a small amount of addition of strong acid or a strong base. Neither it is affected by dilution, nor it is affected when it is kept for a long time. So in all circumstances, the pH of the buffer solution is going to remain exactly the same, or hardly any difference will be there. Very insignificant amount of difference will be there. Okay, so pH is not affected by these factors. So these are the properties of buffers. Now, why are these buffers so important? You will see that they have got a lot of applications. So one of the major application is within our own human body. Okay, our biochemical system. You know, there are a lot of chemical reactions taking place in our body during the various life processes like digestion, respiration, etc. So throughout the processes, the pH of the blood in our body is maintained at 7.36 to 7.42. If the pH changes, then it can lead to various complications. When you're given a saline, the saline is nothing but a buffer of uh, carbonic acid and its carbonate. Okay, so you can have sodium carbonate and carbonic acid as a buffer. Okay. Similarly, in agriculture, when we want to grow crops, soil testing is done generally. So what is done when the soil is tested is we find out the pH of the soil. And suppose the pH is not suitable for that crop to grow, either it is too acidic or too basic, then you cannot just throw away that land, right? So what you have to do is you have to adjust the pH, or you have to bring back the pH to what is required. And this can be done by addition of fertilizers which contain carbonates, phosphates, nitrates, organic acids, etc. Okay. Similarly, medicines that we consume, like penicillin injection that is given. Okay, this is stabilized by adding sodium citrate as a buffer. The pH of that injection has to be maintained, and that is done by adding sodium citrate as a buffer. The milk of magnesia, that pink colored solution that we have generally when you have indigestion problems. You must have seen some elders at home having that pink colored solution. That is milk of magnesia. Okay, that is a buffer of magnesium hydroxide and magnesium citrate. Then in analytical chemistry, okay, when we do qualitative analysis, last year you have done salt testing. Okay, that means you try to identify which are the positive and negative ions present in the given salt. So when you're doing that detection of positive radicals, you've seen that when you want to precipitate the group 3A radicals, then you need to prepare a buffer by adding small amount of ammonium chloride and excess of ammonium hydroxide, okay, to the sample that is given to you. So if you're adding it in the proper quantity, okay, then you get a solution whose pH is falling in the range of 8 to 10. And this pH enables the group 3A radicals, if they are present, to precipitate out. So these are some applications of buffers. All right. So with this, we come to an end of today's session on buffers. Hope you have enjoyed and understood this topic. It's a very interesting topic. Request you all to go back and again watch my video thoroughly and prepare your notes on the same. Also, try writing out the mechanism for basic buffers. Okay. So see you in my next session. Until then, have a good day.